All right, good afternoon, everyone. I don't want to hold up any more time this afternoon. We have a quick half hour. I do appreciate you taking the time out of your busy days to come spend it with Apogee and Hiscox now to discuss cybersecurity insurance. Any questions that you may have during the session, you can go ahead and put them in the chat or into the Q&A. And we have, I think, 5 underwriters on the call with us today to kind of help facilitate those questions as we're going through. If there's something that we don't get to today or cannot answer, I'll be sure to follow up with a response after the session. Ashley with Apogee is going to send out a copy of the presentation, a recording of the presentation, along with all of those questions and answers that we encountered today. Okay. All right, I am going to go off camera just because with sharing the screen and navigating with everyone coming in, I don't want any technical difficulty. And we will go ahead and get started. All right. So as mentioned, today is dedicated to cyber liability insurance. So the first question that typically comes to mind is, what is cyber liability insurance? So cyber insurance is a form of coverage designed to protect businesses from threats in the digital age. So think of data breach, malicious attacks, interruption events. Cyber liability policies tend to cover both first and third party losses. So you may be asking, what's the difference? First party losses are those incurred directly to the insured. So those are losses. Think of your lost data, ransomware type of losses. And then there are third party losses. So those are losses that result from claims made against the insured after a breach event. Those are going to be lawsuits that come in from customers because the data wasn't kept safe. So we talked about what's the first question, but what's the best question? Who needs cyber insurance? Everyone needs it. So a business is responsible for its own cyber security. If they send, store, use data of any kind, and not just personally identifiable information, they will have an exposure. If they're relying on networks and the internet in any way to conduct their business, there is an exposure there as well. So the days of resting solely in the breach of PII are gone. In this new world, there's so many technological advances, so the threat of the landscape is even bigger. Again, this is just a breakdown of the differences between first and third party exposures. First party exposures are the expenses resulting from a breach incurred by the insured. That's the money that they have to spend to figure out how the threat actor got in, and the money that they're going to have to spend to get them out of their system and to recover the data forensics. And the third party exposures are the expenses that are triggered after the breach. So these are the damages from their clients, the lawsuits filed by other third parties, if they're holding data on behalf of others, and government investigations. So what are cyber threats for small businesses? In today's digital world, we have access to a multitude of personally identifiable information. All of this personally identifiable information is the responsibility of the small business to keep safe. It can be as simple as things as social security numbers and driver's licenses, or even things as nuanced as GPS location, cookies, browsing history, and IP addresses. This is a great slide and some wonderful talking points to have with your insured. It goes over threats and impacts of cyber attacks on small businesses. So over the years, attacks have been on the rise. 50% of all firms have indicated that they have suffered a cyber attack. This could be something as simple as a phishing attack, all the way up to those large ransom attacks where they get locked out of their systems and are demanded a large payment to get their information back. The average cost of a cyber attack is about 16,000 US dollars. And the top threats that we see and you'll see are cybercrime, funds transfer fraud, and payment diversion. The biggest weakness to every organization to date is the human elements, business email compromise, and unpatched system vulnerabilities. An example is if somebody fails for phishing attempts, they click on a link and it spreads malicious codes all throughout your systems. The unpatched system vulnerabilities, when your system asks you or requires you to restart, make sure that that restart is happening and make sure that those patches are applied. If you can see that there's an unpatched system, the threat actor can see that there's an unpatched system. And an unpatched system means that there's a way to get in there. Small firms are affected just as much as larger firms. The common misconception that has gone around in the market around cyber has been that small firms do not need cyber insurance because I'm too little. They're not going to worry. They're not going to bother me. I don't need to worry about it. But as we see here, small firms with less than 10 employees have seen a 35% increase in cyber attacks year over year. So it's not just the big firms that are targets of these things. Threat actors are looking for quick, easy payments, and often smaller businesses have less sophisticated tools in place. So they are just at large as these larger firms are. Also, in order to gain access to larger firms, sometimes threat actors will look for it in the easiest way. The best example of this is what happened with Target. If you remember, the Target breach happened because of an air conditioning company was servicing Target, and that air conditioning company got breached, and the breach spread from the company to Target. So that small air conditioning company was the entryway to that deeper pocket. Ransomware. This is the it topic in cyber. Nearly 1 in 5 firms suffered a ransomware attack, with over half paying the ransom and less than half of those that were paid were able to recover the data. And probably the most alarming statistic to point out here is that 60% of all small to medium-sized businesses close 6 months after suffering a breach. So most small businesses lack the resources to rebound from costs of managing a data breach. So if the average cost is $16,000, how many small firms would be able to absorb that cost in their bottom line and be able to keep going? And just remember that 16,000 is an average, so it could be much greater than that. Let's get into some policy basics here. Cyber coverage is a claims made and reported type of policy. So this means a claim must be made within the policy period or the extended reporting period of 30 days. There is a minimum claim limit of $250,000 with a 10-hour waiting period. And what is that 10-hour waiting period? Think of it as a time deductible where if the system suffers an outage after 10 hours, that's when the coverage would start to apply. We have a 1 million aggregate limits and various deductibles ranging from $1,000 to $25,000. It's an admitted form, and we can write it on a monoline basis. The maximum revenue is $5 million for new business. Scheduled additional insured is not available. 14-day cancellations available for most classes. Average written premium of $478 with no minimum, and the policy renews automatically. Cyber is available for up to 480 plus classes of business. And over on the right-hand side, just see a few lists of classes that we do offer cyber. But as you can tell, there's many more out there with that 480 number. And over on the left-hand side, anything in red is where the cyber product is available. So 48 states, excluding Alaska and Washington. So what is and what isn't covered by cyber liability insurance? Breach cost. Cybersecurity insurance covers costs associated responding to a data breach, even if the data is never exploited. These may include the cost to identify and confirm the breach and to notify anyone, such as your customers, vendors, employees, who may have been affected. Cyber extortion. This covers ransom demands and other network extortion, including threats to shut down a network or system or divulge personal information if demands are not met. This includes expert consultation on whether and how to pay a ransom demand. Cybercrime, and remember this is the most common loss here. This covers the financial losses associated with social engineering, reverse social engineering, and funds transfer fraud. So we've talked about social engineering. I'm sure we're familiar with social engineering and funds transfer fraud, but reverse social engineering, a great example was pointed out of this where it was a carpet cleaning company. And the carpet cleaning company realized that they hadn't gotten paid for an entire month of services. It turned out that somebody was taking their template of what their bills looked like and sending it to their clients, but they were changing the bank routing number to a fraudulent account and basically taking all of their money that they should have been getting paid. Business interruption. This is if your systems go down for a period of time and you cannot make online sales, do online bookings, or the end user cannot use your services in any way. Data recovery. This includes the costs to replace, repair, or restore data and software that was damaged or destroyed due to a cyber incident. And privacy protection. This covers the costs associated with claims of mishandled personal, identifiable, or confidential corporate information. Includes coverage for negligence, violation of privacy or consumer protection law, breach of contract, and regulatory infractions. Issues related to security failure, including negligent transmission of a virus, are also covered. So we talked about what is included. Let's just briefly discuss exclusions. This is included but not limited to criminal proceedings. We won't cover claims brought in the form of criminal proceedings, such as a criminal investigation, grand jury proceeding, or criminal action. Funds transfer. So now remember, funds transfer fraud is covered, but funds transfer is not. So think of this as if you accidentally transfer funds to an account that you weren't supposed to. Infrastructure interruption. We will cover claims resulting from failure or interruption of water, gas, or electric utility providers. Intentional acts. This is pretty much standard on all insurance policies. We will not cover any fraud, dishonesty, criminal conduct, or knowingly wrongful act of business or its employees, and we won't cover any claims you had knowledge of prior to the policy period. Subsidiary outside control of the named insured. So the subsidiary is defined in the policy, and the subsidiary fitting that definition is covered. Where a subsidiary outside the control is excluded from this policy is if you don't have management control or control over that subsidiary and their networks. So you're not going to know if their patching is being done properly. You won't have control over what systems it runs. So it's very important for the subsidiary to be under the control of the named insured. Business interruption from systems under control of third parties. This means that if there is business interruption to another third party, meaning not the named insured, we are not going to cover the business interruption on our insurance. And then property damage. Cybersecurity insurance does not cover property damage stemming from a data breach, cyber attack, or theft. So, for example, if your laptop was stolen, for example, your claim typically would be covered by your business owner's policy, hopefully, that you have with Hiscox, but it would not be covered under the cyber liability. Some sample claims examples from small businesses. So phishing email leads to a ransomware. The employee at a retail store, they receive an email that says, click here to receive your invoice. They click on it, and a cyber criminal gained access to the retailer's entire server, impacting its point of sale registers. The ransom attack held the systems hostage, effectively stopping sales from being transacted. A website developer designed a new website for an e-commerce company. When the site launched, it immediately crashes. The site is down for 3 days while a developer fixes the problem, and the company sues the developer for lost revenue. And the last example here is negligence by media firm leads to a breach. So the computer system of a media firm contains large amounts of data on its clients. The system's security services upgrade lapse, leaving it more vulnerable to a breach. So this would be, failed patching where you failed to keep your system safe. The system is hacked and several clients file lawsuits alleging negligence. And some complementary resources for our policy holders. So on every Hiscox cyber policy, we offer Paladin Shields. This is cybersecurity intelligence. It has a broad set of protections. They can offer you email monitoring, do website scans, patching information, give you some common threats that are out there in the landscape that could affect your industry, states, type of operating networks, and things like that. We have the Hiscox eRisk Hub. This is educational and technical resources that are going to help identify exposures, establish a response plan, and minimize effects of a breach. And then also 1 hour of risk management. They meet with a nationally recognized law firm focused on your industry, provide a consultation, and offer up to 1 hour of legal services to help minimize risks that commonly lead to claims. And this next slide here just goes a little bit further into the Paladin offering. Key shield features is that email security, network defense, compliance reporting, and then also the human support that is available through phone, chat, and email. I'm going to hop over to a quick demo of how to quote a cyber policy or a risk. Always make sure that you are going to your Hiscox Apogee co-branded website. You want to make sure that you sign in so you'll be able to have the quote into your quote grid, and then when you bind the policy, it will be tied to your agency. We're going to just start with the quote here. So all you have to do is enter the client's zip code to get started. Yeah. The website web design is just ringing in my head right now, so I'm going to use that as an example. Here, so price. We're going to have coverage start today. I'm not sure what type of profession to choose. You can use our appetite guide. And then we do offer a brief definition over here on the right-hand side. This next page will show you the lines of business that are available for this class of business. This is after you're done going through the whole application, but what it may be eligible for. You can choose multiple. So if you wanted to do a professional and a cyber together, you could. For the sake of time and the subject we're talking about today, we'll do a cyber. For those of you that may know me or not know me, I am located outside of Buffalo, New York. I am a huge Buffalo Bills fan, so I always use Josh Allen as my guinea pig for quoting. Josh woke up today, decided he was going to start this web design company. If there's a DBA, you can add it in here. Validating the address. If you needed to add another location on, you would do that right here. Including yourself, how many full-time, part-time, and temporary employees does your business have? It's just Josh. Probably the biggest question I've been getting lately is, does this include subcontractors? And right here in the question, it says, do not include subcontractors. This is his part-time gig, so we're going to have him do 100,000. You'll see over here, it followed us along on our quote journey. So you can always hop back if you need to fix something. You realize you just messed up on the location. Our aggregate limits, our deductible limits, and if we want to include or not include terrorism, and then media liability. If you're unsure of something, you can always hover over this eye icon here. It gives you a little brief explanation. And feel free to utilize our chat as well. If you have any questions about the quote or application, I should say. And that's it. So quick and easy. I think it took me under 5 minutes. Maybe at 5 if I wouldn't have been talking. So $32.65 a month for this quote. We have a great quote letter PDF. It kind of talks about some of the things that we talked about in the presentation today. It'll go over a claims example, what is covered, what isn't covered, why is it recommended for you, and then goes into the limits that are on the quote. It does list your agency information, so always make sure that your profile is up to date inside of your portal, because that will display on your quote letters and on your policy documents. You can create a comparison quote here. So say you did the cyber and now Josh says, well, I need a E&O policy. You can go back and add it on, and it's just going to automatically add in those E&O questions for you, so you don't have to retype everything. This goes into, again, what's covered, limits and deductibles, any upgrades. Find the policy, application review, legal statements. You're actually going to have read them, agree to the email delivery, and then continue over to payment options. And here are our payment options: monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, and annual. We offer, or we accept, I should say, major credit card and debit cards. And if you do compare payment plans, say if we want to do it quarterly, it will show you that your client will be charged the $98 down today, and then 3, 6, and 9 months will be charged $98. One thing you'll notice here is that we do not have any sort of installation installment fee, I guess I should say, if they choose a quarterly or monthly payment. So it's not an extra $5 or $3 if they want to do it on a monthly basis. Once you continue to purchase, you will enter your card details. After you hit that make payment, you should receive instantaneously in an email policy documents that the policy is bound. I will say sometimes give it up to 24 hours. I always just err on that side of caution just because you never know. But usually same day you will have those policy documents in your email box. And I think I did it in the half hour. We did. So with 2 minutes to spare, I just want to make sure that everyone had the opportunity to get all of their questions into the chat. If not, take your time and get those in there. We did have a contest running for the past couple of weeks. Anytime you submitted a quote to the Hiscox Now platform, you would be entered in for a raffle. It was supposed to end today, but we actually are going to extend it until Friday. So if you have anything on your desk right now that may need that cyber coverage, feel free to hop in there and give it a quote and get entered into the raffle, and hopefully you're able to bind the business with us. Ashley, did you have anything you wanted to add prior to us wrapping up?
So I did get a question about how to get appointed with us. So I'm going to drop that link in the chat box for anybody who isn't currently appointed with Apogee. Once you're appointed, you'll get your AGT code, and that's when you can create a Hiscox account with our partner portal so that you can start quoting online with them. So I'll drop that in the chat now. And if you want to become appointed, just fill out that short, simple form. It's really short and simple.
Great, thank you, Ashley. All right. And as mentioned at the beginning of the call, a copy of this recording along with the deck, as well as I'll take all these questions that are in the chat and summarize them and send them over to Ashley. Ashley will send them out. And then I would look out in your email early next week to see if you are one of those lucky raffle winners. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Thank you to the underwriters on the call assisting with the questions. And everyone have a great rest of your day.